In the heart of Detroit, where empty libraries stood as monuments to forgotten potential, there lived a man named Howard. Detroit, once a city of innovation and industry, now wore the weight of neglect. The agents of government told the people they were free, free from the burdens of responsibility, of learning, and of critical thought. Questions were discouraged, books were outlawed, and schools sat abandoned under the guise that freedom was easier without effort.
You don't need to think about the world to live in it, government officials would proclaim at public gatherings. We take care of the big decisions. Your freedom lies in letting go of worry.
What's that?
Howard asked, stopping a few feet away. The woman looked up, her gaze piercing. It's a story, she replied, about people who believed they could be free without knowledge and lost everything because of it. Howard stepped closer, curiosity outweighing his caution. Is that what happened to us? The woman, whose name was Damita, nodded. She was a traveler, passing through Detroit with a satchel of forbidden books and the conviction that ignorance was the enemy of freedom. She spoke of other cities, of times past, when people fought for their right to learn, to think, to govern themselves. But we're free here, Howard said uncertainly. The agents say so. Damita's lips tightened. Free? Or unburdened? He who expects to be ignorant and free expects something that never was and never will be. Freedom isn't the absence of effort, it's the reward of understanding. She handed Howard a book from her bag, its cover worn and its pages marked by time.
Take it, she said.
Learn what true freedom costs. Howard hid the book beneath his mattress, reading it by the dim light of his bedside lamp each night. Its words burned through the fog of complacency, opening his eyes to truths long buried. He learned about Detroit's vibrant past, its birth as the Motor City, its struggles for labor rights, its contributions to art and industry. He also learned how ignorance had crept in, replacing pride with apathy, until the city's people became too disconnected to see the chains around them. Howard began to speak out, first to his coworkers at the factory, then to neighbors on his block. They tell us we're free, he said, holding the book high in the factory break room. But how can we be free if we don't understand the world around us? They've taken our schools, our libraries, and our history. Without knowledge, we're not free, we're controlled. At first, many dismissed him, afraid of what his words might bring. But slowly, others began to listen. They dusted off abandoned libraries, rediscovered forgotten books, and began teaching one another. Mechanics learned the science behind the machines they worked on. Parents taught their children from books salvaged from boarded-up schools. The agents of government fought back. They called Howard a rabble-rouser, warning, knowledge will only bring chaos. Detroit is free because its people live simply and without burdens. But the people of Detroit had tasted the truth, and they could not unlearn it. The city began to awaken, not just to its struggles, but to its possibilities. Old libraries reopened. New ideas filled the air like the hum of machinery once did. It wasn't easy. Knowledge brought challenges, debates, and responsibilities, but it also brought hope, purpose, and a sense of power that had long been missing. One evening, Howard stood on the steps of a reopened library, the first in decades. He looked out at the gathering crowd, some clutching books, others just eager to learn. In his hand was the worn book Damita had given him. He thought of the quote he'd read inside, "He who expects to be ignorant and free expects something that never was and never will be."
Damita had been right.
Freedom wasn't the absence of effort. It was the product of courage, learning, and unrelenting determination. For the first time, Howard felt what true freedom could be, not given from above, but built from within. Detroit wasn't perfect, but it was alive again. And that, Howard knew, was the beginning of everything. This story is more than fiction. It is a reflection of a universal truth. Knowledge is the foundation of freedom, and ignorance is its greatest enemy. Ask yourself, when is the last time you challenged what you've been told? Have you sought out knowledge to better understand the world around you? Are there forgotten libraries or resources in your community waiting to be revived? You have the power to make a difference. Start small, read a book, Share ideas, ask questions, and engage in discussions that push the boundaries of what you know. Advocate for education and access to knowledge in your community. Remember, freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the reward of understanding. Reclaim your freedom. Begin today.